dig myself into my own grave.
Well, you don't have to do that. I mean...
Okay, people, we got company coming. Let's set the table. Engage enemy forces on sight.
I'm gonna jump.
Oh, my corpse pile.
Can I do it? Oh, I didn't. Oh, okay, I died.
Negative. They're close.
My corpse pile's gone.
Chief, you gotta find the cartographer.
If I'm feeling a emotional, if I'm in an emotionally vulnerable state, and something amplifies that, that's definitely going to feel uncomfortable. Not because I'm bothered by the particular emotion, but because vulnerability is difficult. I mean, so that's the very broad brushstroke that's not very clear. And if you want me to get more clear, it's going to get real uncomfortable real fast.
I guess.
I mean, what is that? Make it somewhat tense? I don't know.
To a degree, because here's, I guess, the question. I mean, if we want to get real Freudian, the question, I suppose, comes to, would you be afraid of someone knowing everything about you, or would that relieve you? Because I think that's the crux of it, is because if I mean, if you, this applies to art, but I mean,
in the true fashion of Giannis, I would have to say both, but not.
Sure, fine,
but not in a. I know that sounds incredibly annoying, but
I would, because there's the thing. I mean, on an artistic level, or even if you took it to the extreme of like, if there was a person, because there was
a person that knew me fully, I would very much appreciate that in them. That makes it sound like no one knows me fully. I would say, arguably, of all people, you'd probably be one of the ones that would know me inside and out. There's very little, if anything, you don't know about me.
Well, except your music taste, apparently.
Well, okay, you really have a hang-up on being able to nail me down. Don't nail me down.
Oh.
What?
Hey!
Oh, you were still running with that? Okay.
Oh, I thought that was somewhere. Because that's the kind of thing where there is a trope.
What are you getting at that, I guess?
Well, there is a trope amongst... I'm not sure. I mean, all sorts of things within psychological types, within fiction, within just, I don't know, various... Even on the broadest, even the simplest level of like, you know, the dumb Facebook personality quizzes. It's like there are people who if someone were to, I mean, I guess the best way I can describe it is almost in a fictional concept. It's like if you have a character in a story who deliberately pushes people away once they start getting too close because they're afraid of that level of being known at that extreme, of like someone knowing too much about them.
No, I would say that's not me.
Okay.
I would not push them away. I would certainly be wary of the fact that they know a great deal about me, and that alone is risky, but that's not... Again, you come back to the whole beauty of why I loved that movie, the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, is that the whole point of the movie, especially at the end, is that the risk is worth it.
Yeah.
And
so that I guess that's where... Okay,
like,
well
do you not agree that's the
well,
whole
that's
crux
the whole point
of
it. That's why I liked it. But that's where, because I am the kind of person where if a piece of art or if a person were to resonate with me so strongly as to be like, this to me, that's not a thing of like, oh gosh, I'm afraid of being understood.
No.
It's like, oh, thank goodness something finally understands.
Yeah.
That's more my attitude. So that's why if something hits close to home, for lack of better, since I'm trying to bring that back around, are there not flashlights in this game?
Yeah.
What are you pushing to do that?
Well, I have green thumb, so for me it's bump button left.
Oh, it's the same one. Okay. But so I mean that's what I was trying to get at. Is it seemed like with some of the things we've discussed that might. I guess so. It doesn't actually lead to any clarity because you agree with me. So because that's where I thought maybe is that a difference where
I'm trying to understand because I agree with you that having somebody know you is 100% worth it. It's a very worthwhile endeavor and it's meaningful.
In circles.
I'm just waiting on you, man. So that I would say is very true, and I don't have any uncomfortability with that whatsoever. So what was that?
Well, then I get that was my only attempt at perhaps that was a distinguishing factor because I teased you about the idea of, maybe the reason you don't like Halsey is because she's too much like you, and you were sort of like, well, maybe, and you acted as though you need to give that a possible thought. But it seems like that may not be true.
No, it's more that
you're just now giving it the thought.
nothing. There are certain songs that I've listened to that suck to listen to because they're so accurate.
Up here. See, I've never had that. To me, a song that that's what I'm just that's exactly what I'm describing is a song that was so accurate to me would feel to me like a blessing. I'd be like, finally, I have the words.
But it sucks in that you go, it grips you in such
I don't find being gripped sucky. I guess that's the difference. Is I don't find it uncomfortable. If anything, I find it like, oh, finally, I have the words.
Well, but yeah.
This is precisely the thing I'm getting at is I don't find that uncomfortable. I find it almost like a relief. It's like finally something conveys the same feeling.
Yes.
We're just going in circles here. Are we supposed to be going up or down?
When something grips me,
somebody loves you.
When something grips me to the point that it's like that hit the nail so on the head, it can be it compels you. Force is too strong, so I think it compels you to experience emotions that maybe you didn't realize you needed to experience.
Well, maybe that's the other crux of this, is that maybe that's something I welcome because it doesn't have to happen otherwise.
Well, and for me, it does.
You might be going, oh gosh, I don't need to deal with this now, or I'm like, finally, I can deal with this.
That's true. That is true.
I think I'm just going back up.
For me, that is probably an accurate statement. I don't know that I need the amplification in order to experience
I'm gonna
something.
cheat.
More than likely, I've already thought through it, talked through
I
it.
failed.
Experienced it on a in a controlled environment, in that I have been able to do it on my own terms, kind of doing my self-evaluation. But the thing is, I'm an overthinker to the point of like almost making myself crazy. So when a song takes me there, I will literally save a song because of the fact that it's so potent. Like there's a song. Okay, this is gonna again. I feel like I can
going back to Arcane again.
No, I can. This one I think I can
naturally.
I can let people in on the ends of this a little bit more readily. So when my wife obviously went through her whole thing where she quite literally almost died, there's a song that literally talks about this guy essentially losing his wife and having to move on, and there's a line that basically says, "Here I am between heaven and the embers, but 6 feet's never felt so far," kind of a thing. And it's like those are very potent experiences, even if you're experiencing it in your mind's eye, and it's not something that ever actually happened to me. But it was so close to happening to me that it was like I gotta process this emotion in order to deal with it. But I would not say that that's a particularly
it's not a fun
pleasant
thing.
experience.
Well, sure.
It's welcomed in that it's useful.
So you don't stand in the middle of the giant circle to press the button? Oh, you do. Well, then why didn't I see that before? I've walked up to this thing so many times. That's really stupid. Didn't see the button prompt.
So, is it useful? Yes. Am I going to welcome it? Yes, because I think self-development is, again, worth the risk, but it's painful.
Yes, but I don't...
that dichotomy sometimes can tear you apart.
Painful is I mean, that's a strong word. There are songs that I find. It's not that I even find them painful. It's just that I find them of such significance that they ought. It's almost more of a reverence thing. It's like I don't want to just listen to this endlessly because it deserves the. It like
The occasion or the
yeah,
ceremony.
it's like it deserves to be used in its appropriate
Right,
place
it's-
because of
yeah,
how
the
potent it is. But
ceremony,
it
yeah.
isn't something that I'm like, oh, I don't want to feel that. If anything, I'm like, oh, thank goodness there's something. Again, it's like a thank goodness something can explain it.
Right, which is why I have them on my playlist, and I will listen to them. I mean, it's so again using that example of my wife and that whole thing. I have probably 20 songs that are related to some sort of context in that because they are helpful to process. So I'm not, but I fail to see what that answers as far as the whole Giannis comparison. I'm not quite understanding that.
Well, that I was only positing if that was not necessarily going to be a part of it. I just thought perhaps it might aid in the. I think actually the thing that strikes probably more closely. Hello, I found the right way to go because there's things that don't want me here. I actually think that the most accurate thing we've touched on is probably the idea that because an emotional experience for me is something that's very. I mean, I don't want to sound like a Vulcan, but it's like that's something that doesn't happen often. So if a song comes along that can evoke it, I'm like, emotions. Whereas you, I suppose, probably are on the opposite, where you're like, oh gosh, I already have too many of these. I don't want another one right now.
It's not too many of them. I have to be. You use them maybe as guideposts for feeling or processing a particular emotion. I have to use them as. I use songs in that respect as more of a. Okay, where am I? I would say it's why I can't. A playlist has to be consistent within its own bracket of feeling, if that makes sense. Because if I listen to like, I'm gonna conquer the world in tandem with everything's terrible and then I'm processing way too much all at the same time.
I mean, I understand that just from a level of artistic consistency though. Like
Right.
there's just things that don't mesh.
Right.
But it's
So
not
that's all
because
I'm
of
saying.
like,
I'm
oh,
not-
it'll make me feel too much emotion. It's more just like, these don't. They don't go together. It's like
But it. Yeah. I guess I'm still.
I don't know. I suppose. I mean, not to sound. Again, it makes me sound like I'm some sort of. Oh, hey, they're bringing in the cool Halo music. I don't. It's almost. I mean, if I wanted to sound angsty, I could put it in the terms of like I tend to be. I mean, numb is obviously a loaded phrase, especially in this context. Emotionally, my day-to-day does not vary much.
Sure.
So when something comes along that can stir an emotion, I find it like, oh, this is an experience worth having.
I would
And
agree.
it seems as though you're a little bit more like, no, I don't need to seek those out because they happen naturally.
It's not. I need to seek them out for different reasons. I would say especially in the recent years that I've walked through, I certainly have been able to resonate with the notion of feeling numb. That is not a foreign concept to me at all. But for me, it's more. Songs give me a guardrail on what particular emotional track I'm on. So it's like, okay, that freaked me out. Look at
Yeah,
him.
that was weird.
He's like hanging there like some sort of a bird man. 2 times shot. It sounds like for you they're more like
I welcome it just because it's one of the only times that it happens.
Well, and I welcome it, but more for the sake of...
Oh, I think he got me. He did. Live for me. But...
said Jesus.
So it seems as though you're disagreeing even with this statement that I made.
No, I'm not disagreeing with anything. What do you think I'm disagreeing with?
You're saying, well, you're... No, not... Well, I guess you are agreeing with me, which negates what I thought was the difference between us.
I think the difference is you use them to experience... I agree that it's worthwhile to embrace those kinds of things that resonate with you because they're worth unpacking. But it sounds like you listen to a song and you go, well, this has helped me process this particular thing. I mean, you can use broad brushstroke, whatever you want to do. But for me, it's more, I'm already aware that I'm feeling this thing. And when I hear a song that then hits home with that, I go, this is, it gives me it gives me a path, I suppose, to process it, because I'm already aware that it's there, but there's sometimes it's more like like you said, I'll play it in like an infinite loop until I get a song or something like that allows me to process it in more of a finalizing or a resolution, like a resolutory way, if that makes any sense. So I'll play a particular emotion, or I'll be in the season of a particular emotional state repeatedly, going, how do I work through this? And I'll overthink it to death until I find a song that's like, oh, this song hits the nail on the head. This is exactly what I'm feeling, and when I listen to this song, I'm able to put a pin in it. Does that make sense? So that's how it helps me. I welcome it, yes, but it's because it helps me to finalize the feeling. Whereas for you,
Then why would that be a bad? No,
No,
but then you're acting like sometimes you don't have the bandwidth for it, like sometimes it's too difficult.
Well, that's true. I mean, it depends.
Well, but if
on
it's a
the
pin in it, then surely that's because that's almost how I would describe it. Where it's more like this gives the.
Oh, so you're saying that it's a similar
Well,
experience?
it's more, yeah, it's a sort of like this. This finally gives me the words
the
to
gauntlet.
describe the thing I already was experiencing.
Right.
Oops.
Yes,
I forgot how to get back up.
I agree, and I wouldn't say it's ever been a bad thing, but there are certainly times that I go, I don't know that I can listen to this right now because it's too fresh.
Oh boy.
It's almost like I want to still linger in it a little bit longer before I pin it.
No, okay. Well, now you're not. Now you've gone completely backwards.
No, I'm not. I'm saying I certainly embrace the context of something that can
How do we get out of
hit the nail on the
here?
head with an emotional experience I'm having. But depending on the weightiness of and or the desire. Well, dude, you need to read my. You remember that I'm going to use this as a framework.
Read my dream journal.
No, I'm going to use this as a framework, and this will just give you a brief taster on the sermon that I'm working on that I was telling you about. That's like more of just like if I ever was to speak on something. There's a section where Jesus is talking to the lame man at the pool of Bethesda, and his whole context in that story is he asks the man, wilt thou be made whole? Like, do you want to be whole, essentially? And I think sometimes it's easy for us to just answer, like, well, duh. But there are times that we want to sit in our...
Well, it's like, I mean, I often quote the lyric from Allentown by Billy Joel, which is, it's hard to keep a good man down, but I won't be getting up today. It's
Right.
like, yep, I'll get up, but I'm going to sit for a second and just
Won't
sort
be
of
today.
let
Nope.
this wash over me first.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, nope, don't like that. Like, when there's a song that is so apropos.
See,
and
the funny thing is, Billy Joel is most of these songs for me that I'm describing.
Oh, for sure. As far as like...
Up! Oh, that wasn't as...
well, like Tomorrow Is Today is one of my absolute go-tos when I'm just going, it's all meaningless. But
Hello. Enjoy that.
where
Ah, I didn't get him. Ah, he got me. Get him.
oh
He just carved that buttocks up like turkey. Now I don't remember where we're going.
so that's all I'm saying is that there's going to be some times that you go,
Oh,
this
just me.
song is absolutely perfect for me processing this emotion, but I don't know that I'm ready to do that yet. You stupid sorry sack.
See, that's where I don't know that I'd say, oh, I don't know that I'm ready to do that yet. Usually for
Well,
me,
it's
it's
the same
like...
thing. It's not going to be today. It's
Yeah,
the
but no,
same
but see, no, that's
context.
not what I'm saying. That's not what I meant by that. What I'm saying, it's not that I can't process this yet.
It's
That's
not
not.
that I can't. It's that I don't want to. Again, wilt's thou be made whole.
No,
It's
but
not
that,
like,
well, that's not what I.
can you be
Because see,
made
that's
whole?
not what I'm saying though. Because to me, that's. It's not a matter of processing that makes that phrase useful. It's not like, yes, I'll process eventually, but I won't process it now. I'm saying it's more
I
that.
knew you were dead, but now your entire junk is just.
Yeah, now
filled
you've
with
made me
lead.
have to try to draw a distinction I wasn't aware needed drawing. Because it's not a matter of, oh, I can't
sorry.
process this yet. Because generally for me, it's more of like, I'm already kind of aware. To me, that the reason that song strikes me is it's just, there are times when you're like, it's not an emotional thing. It's like, okay, I'm in the middle of a crisis. And yes, I know that, I will find the way through it. But I'm going to just sit for a moment and just feel it. But that's not processing. If anything, that is processing it. In my mind.
Yes.
Or at the very, you process by feeling it. There's no other way to process it.
Right, but what I'm saying is,
By letting it be.
haven't there been times that you're like,
I don't think I've ever had a time where it's like, oh, I can't do that.
no, again, I say, it's not that you can't. It's I don't want to I'm not ready to stop feeling this at
But
this
I
moment.
don't think that's not processing it.
No, I agree, but what I'm saying is that's when I would say, like, if a song particularly
get off
relates
our
to
truck.
that. There you go.
Are we getting on this, or are we?
Yes.
Oh, we are. How about that? 2 missions in 1.
Let's get moving.
So there you go. What I'm saying is, when you get to a point that there is a
The Covenant did a thorough seismic scan.
there's a song that
Those honeycombs with deep tunnels.
nails a particular emotion down, you go, I want to listen to this song when I am
Look on the bright side.
when I am
The last thing the Covenant
through this, if that makes sense.
insertion.
Oh, see,
But
no,
right,
I'm not
but
like
right
that.
now, I'm going to be still kind of in the moment of processing the emotion
to
itself.
me, the song is not a sealer. The song is the...
See, and that's the difference. So that is the distinction. The song for me is like this is the
That's an odd... Yeah, no, I don't feel that way. The song is
almost
sort
like
of the
song is like almost like the reliving for me of it more than
See,
it
no,
is
it's
the,
not. I find it the opposite. The song is the living through it. It's not reliving it. It's like, this is it. To such an extent that, like, Tomorrow is Today does not... I have wept to that song before.
right.
And it no longer does that to me because in some ways it was the thing that gave me, like, I understand the words and now I'm no
See, and
longer
I
as
still-
affected by the emotion.
Whereas
So
for
the
me, I
song no
literally
longer evokes that emotion because I am past it.
Whereas for me, I come back to that song every now and again when I'm feeling that
I mean, I would too, but
because it
I
cements
think
the,
there was actually a
the
song...
not being alone context of like, oh, other people experience this too. It helps.
There
you
was
go,
actually a song just recently that struck me.
it struck you.
Well, because it was one of these songs that was
It
like...
beat me repeatedly.
There was one of these songs that I have listened to enough that I no longer always feel it, but then it sometimes still strikes me, and I can't remember what it was now.
Was it a Breaking Benjamin song?
No, it's been a while for them.
Although I had a thought for you, we should go to that concert.
Is it still happening? I thought we missed
It's a
it.
Breaking Benjamin and Stained, which is like the most.
Oh, I don't like Stained.
Oh, sad.
Breaking Benjamin and
You don't like
Disturbed
Stained?
did a concert a while back, but
You
we missed
don't
it.
like Stained?
I don't think I do. Remind me, because I think I have.
They do the song "Now That We're Here and So Far Away."
That's not helping.
Okay,
like
what
I've-
about "I'm on the Outside"? I'm on the outside.
I know that
looking.
I've heard them before, and I don't recall being impressed. But
Well, they're a
maybe
little
I'm
bland. I'll admit it's.
Because it was Disturbed, Breaking Benjamin, and Avenged Sevenfold, and I was like, "That's a lineup," and we missed it.
No, that's sad. I would have.
I'm
liked
trying to
Avenged
remember because it
Sevenfold.
was literally like just a day or so ago.
No, now it's Daughtry, which is a very odd setup with
I'm not
Breaking
aware.
Benjamin.
Well, they're.
No, they're not anywhere close to
I
Breaking
mean,
Benjamin.
they're on the far side of the spectrum, I suppose.
Far side.
Yeah,
like,
very far. I can't remember now.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to derail.
No, okay, it's a Porter Robinson song because he's still the one person who still occasionally hits me that way.
Still the one.
And it's called Unfold, and it's. I don't know how to describe it. It's. Imagine if a song was written by a cosmic entity that lives outside of time and space,
Wow.
just sort of observing the universe. And it conveys that well enough that I'm like, oh, I feel that somehow, which I guess gives you a strange view of my own psyche. But
See, so again, that is, I think, the distinction. You listen to a song in order to experience the emotion. I listen to a song to reminisce the emotion.
yeah, but see, it's not. That's where I suppose. Like, because
Well, now
again, I've
you're
listened to this.
uncomfortable with that.
I've listened to this song before, and it's affected me, and then I've also listened to it when it doesn't. So I guess I don't know why. I mean, I guess
So
it's
maybe
just.
there isn't a distinction. You're trying to draw a distinction where there isn't one.
Well, there must be because we view these things differently. So there must be
What things?
music in general, or what we use it for, or what they mean, and all these
Well, I
things.
don't know that we do, though, because
It seems as though we do because we use different songs for different purposes.
Well, that's just a preference thing. That's just
no, but I think it's deeper than that. I think the reason I like Halsey and you don't isn't just taste.
This comes back to him arguing Halsey still.
No, because I don't think you'd like Porter Robinson either by the discussion we've had. I mean, maybe you should listen to him because he's very heavily electronica, but he's also very existentialist. So I don't know if one would get you over the other or if the other one would get too much in the way, but I'm just saying.
It's weird because Owl City's really heavily electronica too, and I don't mind him.
So it's not the electronica is the problem, so you can't blame that. So what's your deal with Halsey?
I don't know. I just don't like her.
You're a misogynist. That's what it
Yes,
is.
that's what it is. Must be.
I'm just saying. So that's the song at least. So it's just. I don't know how to describe it other than obviously a song. Because it's not like, oh, it's done and sealed and it never affects me again.
No, of course not. But,
But
I'm
it's also
saying
not
it
like
helps
I don't seek it out to go. I'm going to go seek this out to reminisce this thing. I don't.
Oh,
I
see,
don't-
I do because it helps me.
If anything,
package-
it's the opposite. Where if I find myself in that situation,
Yes.
I might go back to it because it's
right. It helps you package or process. What it does for me is it almost archives.
sure that's a decent word for it.
It,
But
it
then this
allows-
doesn't explain why they're different. Then
You just don't like that I don't like Halsey, and it's eating you alive.
well, but it's not just that because now you're gonna have to listen to this other guy to see if you like him because that.
Because then that'll be some sort of win for you.
No, I'm just saying it's a question of why. Clearly, there's a difference, but
Why you
I'm
don't
trying
like
to
Halsey.
I'm trying to grasp it. Because
But
I
I
thought
think you're
maybe
getting
I
to
thought
the-
maybe it was because we had different reasons for things.
I feel you're
And
getting
therefore
to
we
the Patrick Starr sentiment, though. Eventually, you're just going to be cramming it through my hand, going firmly grasp it.
Well, no, because if we're suggesting that we use, because I thought maybe the reason we find these things different is that we use music in different ways. But if we don't, then that means there's another reason.
Yes, it's called preference.
But I feel like that's too surface level. I feel like it has to be deeper than that.
Does it?
It would seem to me like that ought to be like disagreements over the surface feel trite at that point. If it's only surface level preference, then it feels like it was deeper than that.
I have a deep-rooted hatred.
I mean, as
for Halsey.
evidenced by the fact that I use it in this way and you don't.
What?
There are certain
Use
songs of
what in
hers
what
that
way?
I find that are like this, where it's like this song typifies an emotion that I have felt.
Sure.
So then I don't know. This is why I feel like it has to be
Well,
subject matter
Graveyard,
based.
but no, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Graveyard,
but see, Graveyard
was
to
one
me
I
is
thought was
is a
great.
beautiful song, but not a song that I'm like, oh,
See, and I felt it.
why?
I'm not gonna get into that with you
Well, why?
on air. I'm not doing that.
Well,
Maybe
see,
off air.
Okay, but then why don't you? Okay, but then this, I suppose, we just it will just have to. The only answer, which feels simultaneously obvious and anticlimactic, is well, it's just
we've
because.
talked in circles, and
Well,
then
it's just because I guess we're at different stages, and therefore different lyrics affect in different ways.
that's 100% true because it's a matter of
Yes,
experience.
well, see, I don't disagree, but then that means, what makes that weird is there are lyrics that I would have thought you would have resonated with because of previous conversations we've had.
And that would be an interesting.
That's where I get the question
to
as I go,
unpack.
okay, I was under the impression, based on your previous discussion, that this is something you would resonate with, and I also resonate with it. And the fact, and it, because there's times when it's like, oh, we might resonate for different reasons. Arcane's one of those things. But
What
then
is?
there's also Arcane.
Oh yeah.
But then there's also, it can also be where it's like, oh, I thought I liked this, and I think you might, and then you're like, no, I don't. It's like, oh, okay, then that means clearly
Not in the same
my perception
experiences.
of
Yeah.
how the song what I consider to be mutual in the song isn't, I guess.
And I think a part of that also has to come down to the language itself, sometimes used to convey a particular idea, is
Sure. But
something
see, like,
that
why
can be,
didn't, like, because this is what the one, I mean, going back again, because might as well. I thought that the closing three songs of my attempted Halsey propaganda were all three of a similar tone, and you said no, the first two are all right, but the last one fell flat, and that's where I'm confused because I think, to me, they're all of a stripe. They all kind of flow together, which means clearly we partially agree, but then we don't fully agree, which means something in the last song that appeals to me
got translated
does not
differently
appeal
for
to
me. Yeah.
you, which doesn't make sense to me because I consider the same thing that appeals to me in that song to be what appeals about the other songs, which you did like. So I'm like, okay, that means clearly there's I consider
different
the songs
reason.
equivalent and you don't,
Right.
which means there's something in one that I find in both,
Yeah.
but that you only find in one and not in the other. Unless you listen to it again and have yourself a conversion.
There you go, folks. Music is objective.
I mean, yes, but I feel like if anything,
Ayn Rand already said it, though, so we're not first to get to this.
I'm just saying. I don't know. I
It's
mean,
not unfair to
the only
say there are
explanation
elements
that's
of
left is to say
subjective.
that
They
there
have
is-
to be.
Well, yeah, but then I guess that's the meat of it is saying, all right, what I thought was a mutually, or I mean, there's two explanations. One is what I thought was a mutually held experience is not, or
The way in
the
which
way
I
of in the
express
way in
it.
which it's conveyed
Right.
doesn't work for you the way it does for me.
I think the latter is probably more true.
Well, I mean,
But it's
that,
also possible-
that I'd have to say depends entirely on the song because there are songs of Halsey that I would say I like it and I could understand why you wouldn't because I can identify explicit lines that I resonate with.
Right.
And you might not.
But I think the other possibility is that it is true that experientially, looking from the outside on somebody's experiences, you're going to maybe interpret them as, well, if I know Levi, this is the way that he would react, or if I
Well,
know
and in
this
some way,
person-
that's why the Halsey thing threw me is because I thought I had structured that in a way that I was like, oh, I'm going to like nail this. Because I thought that the arc of like the character progression of her as an artist, I was like, this will be exactly the kind of thing because he's all about waffling.
No, it's true. I am. Well, I mean, that's why I said, like, what is it called? What is it? Archiving, because it's very much like putting it in a box, right? That's very true. I wonder though.
But see, I get so this just to
experience.
put a nail on the box, since we're talking about the box, I have.
You're that anxious to put
I
me in my
have
grave, huh?
Because you say the word archive. I actually have deliberately gone through as many songs as I can remember going back to high school that were like the song I listened to for weeks on end, and I stacked them in as best as I could remember the order of like this was the song for several weeks, and then it was this another one, and I actually have a whole playlist. It's like several years of. I mean, to be humorous about it, several years of angst. But this is the question: imagine we both had this. Is that something that you would say no one can ever listen to this, or would you be like, please listen to this?
Yes.
I need you to understand. Okay, because that's what I was getting at with the fear of being understood thing.
No, I would.
Because there are some people who would be like, no, these must never be read.
The thing
or
is,
heard.
This is going to sound incredibly borderline effeminate, and I'm just going to admit it. But
Well,
I think there's a part of me that goes, I want somebody to
I want to know
just
what love
listen
is.
to it without having to have me go, please listen to it. It's like,
Oh, okay.
It's like
now here's the thing. There's a Breaking Benjamin song on the list that is exactly that. You'd like it probably. It's called. Oh, I always forget the names because they're not as. The line that sticks out to me isn't always the title. Is it called "Lie to Me"? I don't think it is. But there is the chorus of it is, as fast as I run, would you catch me for once? And it's like, ow.
but that's exactly it.
But it is like, I'm not going to stop running. I just want you to catch me this time. Which feels, that does feel a little bit, silly.
But at the same time, I want somebody to take the time to understand without having to have me ask. Because that feels like, even if after you asked they took the time to understand, it's like, that now loses some of its potency.
I wouldn't say that it loses. I wouldn't even think
some.
that it loses
I said
anything.
some of its potency.
I suppose there's I'd almost consider them two different things, because if you said that and then someone did it, that would mean something. But on top of that, if someone did it on their own, that would mean a different thing.
Right.
But I don't think one is better than the other.
Sure.
Because that's enough of a thing to say, hey, I really like this and I think you might like it, and then they do it. That alone would communicate something that I would think is positive.
Yeah, I know it does. But musically, it's difficult for me to. Well, I mean, case in point, we were listening to the whole Enneagram songs thing.
Yeah, those are great.
And everybody looked at me like I was from Mars when my song came on. It was like,
well,
you don't understand any of these lyrics. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, well, even I remember when I first listened to that, I was like, this is a bit all over the place.
Well, it's heavy-handed in the poetic sense, but it's, even for me, I'm like, okay, you're constantly using pictograph and
well, that's unfair to say that's a criticism of.
No, it's not a criticism. It's just like when you lay it on so thick that it's like every line has to be.
Yeah, see, I don't mind that.
Then I'm like, okay, well, now it gets to the point that you're almost fatigued by the end of the song trying to get all the tidbits.
Is that inaccurate?
No.
There you go.
I don't think it's inaccurate. I just thought it was humorous that everybody was like, I don't get it.
Well, that partially the other reason for that is
thanks.
that it was on. We were all using that one crappy speaker, so no one could understand
I will. Well, I think that's a cop out.
Well,
sure, I'm just saying most of the group that day was like, I don't get it. I was like, I can't explain it to you.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't. You're not serious.
Well, it's the Sabrina Carpenter song. It's the one that you put on the Zune that you don't even realize is Sabrina Carpenter.
Yes, because it's by Alan Walker and she's the singer.
But
so it's odd to me that you latch onto it, because I think of it as an Alan Walker song. So you think Sabrina Carpenter? I'm like, I don't know who that is.
The whole, I close the blinds because they don't need to see me cry, because even if they understand, they won't understand. And it's like, that's kind of true. There's certain times it's like, you understand, but you don't really understand.
Sure.
But that, again, sounds very effeminate. I don't know. All I'm saying is I don't think it's a bad thing to have people know things. I think that's a very positive thing. I think, again, I'm doubling down on that, and also the idea that songs to me are more almost like tabs in a book, where it's like, okay, now I've put that tab in there because that's what that emotion or that particular experience was, or that season, or whatever it may be. So for me, it's less I'm experiencing the emotion through this song, and more this song is going to be kind of the
Well, see, I suppose in my case it's a both.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason it functions as the memory is because it was also the experience at the time.
Sure.
It isn't like I can't listen to this until I've resolved this.
That's fair. But maybe I wasn't fair to say that the lack of one or the other within that one Halsey song was a problem. I mean, that's unfair.
That was at least the only criticism you gave, which is why I was confused, because I was like, this
That's
seems
the
like
only
it's right up your
criticism
alley.
you heard. Because I think anything else you deemed to be only surface level, which was like, well, okay, but
Well, other
there
than the
is a
fact that you're
part
like,
of
oh,
me-
it's too electronic, but you liked Owl City, so I'm like, so you're admitting it's a cop-out.
So all I'm saying is I don't like Halsey, and I don't know why.
Well, yeah, but see, that's where I'm going, no, I will demand an excuse.
No, you
'Cause-
don't need one.
No, well
What's
see,
your excuse with John Mayer? There's no reason.
Well, I'll give you the excuse. It's that I don't think he's deep enough. The one song by John Mayer...
That's pretty hard.
No, I'll say it. I mean, I said he's the Volvo of singers. It's like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with him, but there's nothing that I'm like, wow, I really love that.
You don't think it's substantive?
The closest that he ever gets is that one song, Forever and Me. I'm like, that's a good song because it has some real depth. It has some real, like, emotion
Did you
to
listen
it.
to Always in the Blood?
Didn't you show me that, or was it...
I thought I sent it to you via text later and said this is another one that may.
I thought we listened... Was it not part of the thing? I thought we listened to it that day.
Maybe. I don't know.
Because I remember... Yeah, no, it was about him being like his dad.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So it's just that I don't find him... I'll admit, stylistically, he's a little bit soft rocky, which is not my jam. But also, I just don't find that... At least the stuff you showed me, I was like, this lacks the stirring of emotion. It's a little like... Even when it is about emotional stuff, it's kind of like, oh, this girl I used to date. I still think about her sometimes. I'm like, yeah, okay, so does everyone. There's nothing that's like, wow, this strikes me.
So does everyone.
Well, yeah, it's like there's songs that write about, really deep emotions, and then
Well,
there's
that's
like, yeah,
true.
there's emotions that we all feel, and that's precisely why it's kind of like, yeah, we all have felt that, so what's special about it?
Yes, we all do, John.
I don't know. That I will push back on that. If you just go, oh, I just don't like it. I'm like, well, no, that means you haven't thought about it. You'll have to give it a reason before I'll accept that as an answer.
I think a part of it is just the lack of particular resonation. For me, when I listen to a song, I am looking for even sometimes
Is it
one
because,
or
see, I do
two-
wonder, is it just because of the fact that you're...
Sometimes I'm literally looking for either one or two lyrics that just all
Well, no,
of a
that's
sudden
probably
carry
fair
that.
enough. But you, even when you were my age... Well, I'm trying to put this...
Even when you
trying to make sure that I've got the chronology correct, but it's like, even you, when you were my age, were not a single man. I don't think, correct?
What? That doesn't even.
Well, we're saying, okay.
I don't like half of you half as well as you
No, I'm
deserve.
saying the reason there are elements, because the Halsey stuff, as much as I joke about her being angsty woman music, it's actually more just angsty young adult music most of the time. Very rarely is it
Sure.
solely
Strictly
woman-centric.
woman, yeah.
So that's what I wonder is, the reason it appeals to me is because I am at the state, because she's barely older than me.
Sure.
So it's like she's writing song for people my age who are single young adults trying to find some stability in the world.
Well, yeah, I
suppose when you were my age, you weren't in. So it's not only are you not in that place now.
It's
like not only are you not in that place currently, but even when you were, you weren't in that place.
Right. Well, I think it's fair to say.
So perhaps that's the
but that
barrier
comes back
that I
to
wasn't.
experiential. Again,
Sure.
You
But then you like those other songs, so then you must have liked them for different reasons that I like them,
right,
which I didn't.
and that's again an experiential thing, a framework. I think that everybody's framework is going to be different, and I think people that know each other well, or even just really deeply, are obviously going to understand the other person's framework better than probably anybody else. But the reality is, you're never going to really fully recognize the DNA of somebody's framework in the same way they would.
You've got a good. It's like a vacuum, isn't it? It's what's your vacuum like?
What?
Isn't that the line from Megamind? We're talking the drinking bird toy.
Oh yeah.
I'm just joking, but it is kind of what it's like. It's,
Always thirsty, never satisfied.
well, this could almost have been 3 episodes. If you want to talk for 15 more minutes, we could book an additional session with the therapist. Or we'll just make it 2 extra long episodes.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to probably have to do, because I don't know that I have much more to say. I mean, I do think that it's in as much as I have I've tried to become a person that is able to fully understand somebody else. I think that the notion or the premise that that's even a possibility is really a red herring, because you can't. It is. I mean, you can't fully understand somebody.
Sure, but I mean, you could get
pretty darn close. Sure,
get enough to make the difference negligible.
Yeah, I agree. That much I agree. And I think I don't think that the songs that you showed me were even ones that I go, well, you don't know me at all, as much as it was. The last 2 years, and this probably will be a little bit of a brief unpacking, but the last 2 years for me have been different than really any of the other experiences I've had in life, because up to that point, I have been a fairly consistent individual in the type of person I have been. Fairly emotional, less analytical, certainly less comfortable with change and instability and those kinds of things. In those last 2 years, I essentially not 180'd, but it was almost like I turned off that part of me, but not on a temporary level. It was not like I'm jaded now, or I'm feeling this kind of emotional numbness. It was like more of an intentional, like, this is no longer a path I'm choosing, and I'm intentionally walking away from this person that I used to be, to the point that now even some of the experiences that we've had more recently, where Danik has had to say, well, I'm appreciating and having to relearn now how you process information, because you used to go, I don't know what I'm doing, and now you just white knuckle the reins and go, I'm going to figure it out. And it's like, yeah, I mean, there's less of a panic in me. I mean, now even within management, it's like when somebody comes up to me and tries to get me to do something based on the urgency game, or like the emergent, like, you got to do something right now. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, whereas I used to be very much alarmist, and now I'm like, no, I won't be doing that. Yeah, but this one actually calls for it. Okay. Like, it's like, it just, that part of me has died. And I don't know that it's really planning on, in fact, it means not to. Like, I don't know that I'm ever going to go back, because there's a degree of appreciation I have found for the new methodology I adopted. I don't know that I will forever be quite as unavailable to the emergent, but I think it certainly has given me the ability to say no to always being in that zone, which is in the past what I've done. So I don't know. Like I said, though, all that to say, art for me is very much a archival system.
Well, it serves that function, but it isn't only that, is what I'd say.
Yeah.
There is It must first be experienced before it can be archived.
Well,
obviously.
that I don't disagree.
Now I'm curious. You need to listen to that song again, and we'll dissect what it is about it that you find, or that you don't find any meaning
I
in.
find egregious, apparently.
Well, I am now. It does make me curious because that means I am curious then as to what makes it different from the other two, which I considered on similar grounds.
Sure, and that's an interesting enough assessment that Well, there you go.
11 more minutes, we can make it a triple.
Somebody erased it from the archive memory. That's what I just picture that one scene for some reason. Well, you got any emotional angst you want to get off your chest now that I've bared my soul before the public?
See, I don't feel like but again, that's why I don't feel like that was at all like, oh gosh, I can't believe you're talking about that. There was nothing that was that.
I skirted some issues that I could have delved into.
Well, I mean, I feel like I already gave my assessment. Yeah, I did. I don't know. It would have to. The only way I think you could continue is with the nitty gritty sort of analysis of saying, because like, Tomorrow is Today is a song that I imagine we both like for the same reasons, but maybe not.
Well, I mean, my reasoning for liking the song is that what it communicates is essentially life has become so mundane that it really is irrelevant what time it is, what is coming
it's
tomorrow.
Not in my mind about the mundanity. It's almost more. It's because it's a unique experience that comes at the end of the day when even if you've had like it's been an all right day.
Yeah.
There's the knowledge that like I'm not ready to yield this day till tomorrow.
But why?
Well, I mean, it depends, I guess, because sometimes it's literally just I don't feel like I've had enough time to decompress yet. I feel that's more of if a day has been a poor day.
Right.
Or it's like I wish I would like more time for this day to not suck before the next one has to happen. But then even then, some days you're just like, even if it's a positive day, you're like, even though this day hasn't sucked, I wish it didn't have to end yet because tomorrow, who knows what it will be. Admittedly,
it's like more of an ambiguity to tomorrow. Whereas for me, it's more like...
Well, it depends. I mean, there are definitely seasons because there's two lines. There's obviously I don't have to see tomorrow because I saw it yesterday as part of the chorus.
Such a
that's more of the
line to me.
Yeah, and then there's similarly in sort of the bridge it says, oh no, it's actually it's the line right before that. It says I don't have to know the hour because it's passing anyway.
Yeah.
Those are two sort of different elements where it's like the present moment is so fleeting that what's the use of it, and tomorrow isn't going to be any different.
That's, I think, the thing that grips me the most about that song is I say mundane. What I mean is when I feel stuck in a spot in life where it's like I'm not where I want to be, but tomorrow's going to be exactly the same, and here I go. That will drive a man to drink. No, I'm just playing. But at the same time, it's true. It's like you just get to a place where you go, what's the point?
Now, see, this is another question, is that you didn't, and again, I suppose perhaps this will be another difference, you didn't seem as enthralled by the song Why, Judy, Why, which is similar in my view.
Oh, no, I've come around to that song. I just hadn't listened to it enough.
Because the one line that literally the first time I heard it, I was like, oh gosh.
This is which?
It's when he says, a man my age is very young, so I'm told, why do I feel so old? And I was just like, he said it. Because, the first time I heard it, I was like 23 or something. Yeah. I was like, okay. That hurts.
It does.
Ouch, that's me.
Ouch, that's me. No, but that song I came around to because it's a little bit of what we talked about before, which is like, isn't it worth having somebody that knows you through and through? But in that song, it kind of communicates a pain of him kind of bearing himself before this particular person, but going, well, what's the line?
I didn't think I need a friend, but I did.
Right. That kind of.
In the end, tell me why, Judy, why?
Right. It's like, but
yeah, I mean, that's one thing. You should read the Billy Joel biography because it was the reason I started. I thought that I was like, yeah, I've heard some of his songs. They're pretty fun. And then I read it and I was like, oh, I don't know most of these songs they're talking about. And then I listened to them. And then once you know the history of them, like that was written about his. I don't remember if it was a stepsister or if it was just his adopted sister. I don't know if they're related or not. They might not. I think it's like a stepsister type relationship where they were close friends growing up, but the stepsister and his mother became somewhat estranged for some reason. I'm not sure.
yeah.
And that then put them apart, which was sad for him as sort of a young teen as they were growing up.
Yeah.
So it's like knowing that, then when you listen to the song, you're like, oh, I understand now why. Not only, because obviously there's a song can be impactful even if you don't know the reason behind it, but sometimes knowing the reason makes it even more so. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're going to have to diagram the lyrics of Darling, and you'll have to explain to me why it lacks depth to you.
Okay.
Okay. No way.
Okay.
All right, well, we got close enough to 3 hours. That'll do. Pig. That was directed at you.